my sister and I were reborn together and returned to the day when we were adopted from the orphanage. Two families stood in the director's office, the GU family and the Ju family. The three people in the GU family were all well dressed. The men were in suits and the women were adorned with jewels. Their only son, GU Jiue, wore a high school uniform, but on his feet was a pair of limited edition co-branded sneakers. This was the most prominent GU family in Jiangcheng. Gu's father was a business tycoon, and his company contributed the largest tax revenue to Jiangcheng. Gu's mother was a socialite, often appearing at various jewelry auctions and charity dinners, drinking with popular stars. Their son, Jiu Jiue, was known as the Prince of Jiangcheng. In contrast, the Ju family next door looked shabby. The hands of the men and women were all marked by physical labor. I'm afraid they had chosen the best clothes. But there were still sweat stains on them that had not been washed clean. According to the dean, the couple both work at Jiangcheng No. 1 middle school. The husband is a school worker, and the wife is a cleaner. In the previous life, my sister Shaman chose the GU family without hesitation. However, at this moment, she was almost afraid of falling behind, and flew into the arms of the cleaner. "Mom, take me away. I am willing to be your daughter. From now on, my name is Ju Shaman." Amid my sister's excitement, I walked towards the GU family. In this way, the choice was made, and we were taken away by our respective families. When leaving the orphanage, I heard the dean muttering to himself strangely, "Strange, Shaman has always been the most picky and strong. Among the adopters who came before, she didn't even look at those who were dressed in ordinary clothes. This time, a real rich family came. Why didn't she choose it?" The dean didn't understand why, but I understood. In the previous life, my sister tried her best to be adopted by the GU family first and became GU Shaman. She thought that what was waiting for her was a life like a little princess. Not to mention that there is a prince of Jiangcheng like GU Jiue who is her brother, you know. A rich man and an adopted daughter are the most common pairing in romance novels. Living under the same roof, it is easy for them to develop feelings for each other. However, Shaman never expected that Jiu Jiue not only did not have the gentleness of an adopted brother, but on the contrary, he hated her to the extreme. "I hate snobbish people the most in my life. Don't think I can't see that you are a scheming green tea. Aren't you just after our family's money?" At home, Jiu Jiue bullied Jiu Shaman. At school, he brought a group of followers to bully her. Even if Gu's parents knew, they would only reprimand her a few times. They didn't like Shaman at all. The reason they adopted her was just because the fortune teller told Gu's father that adopting a daughter would bring him good luck in the next 10 years. Between the adopted daughter and the biological son, Gu's parents naturally favored the biological son. Jiu Jiue bullied Shaman, but he was very good to me who was adopted by the Ju family. He saw that I received a scholarship, got the first place in the exam, went to school during the day, and helped my mother with cleaning at night. Although I lived a hard life, I never complained. Ju Shichu is a girl. She is really interesting. Just like in idol dramas, the rebellious rich young master fell in love with the indomitable poor little white flower. Later, when Gu's parents passed away and divided the inheritance, Jiu Jiue brought a team of lawyers, and Shaman was calculated to be nothing left, and left the house with nothing, without a share of the family property. A few months later, Jiu Jiue married me. He even said openly at the wedding, "Ju Shichu, what's mine is yours from now on." Unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy Jiu Jiue's property, because a few days later, Shaman, who was stimulated to despair and madness, hit me to death with a car. When she returned to this life, my sister chose the Ju family without hesitation. Although I don't have a fortune, I don't have any intrigues, I can enjoy the wholehearted love of my parents and grow up in a happy family. Because of this background, I will be pitied and protected by the young master of a wealthy family, and finally get a fairytale wedding of the century. She smiled and said to me, "Sister, this time, it's my turn to be the heroine of the idol drama. It's time to taste everything I've suffered." Shimon's prediction was not wrong. In fact, Jiu Jiue's bullying came earlier than in my previous life. At school, my head was pressed into the pool, surrounded by a group of boys' strange laughter. At the moment when I was about to be short of oxygen, someone lifted my neck, and Jiu Jiue looked at me with a smile. "You want my family's money? Okay, drink up the water in the toilet." and I'll give you 100,000 if you drink a sip. How about it? His followers were excited and cheered. I looked at Jiu. The person who said he loved me gently in my previous life was now venting his malice on me unscrupulously. Jiu didn't look at me. His eyes passed me and looked behind me. I knew that Ju Shaman was bending over to wipe the floor. Isn't that Ju Shaman? Why is she still mopping the floor? A follower told Jiu. Ju Shaman's mother is the school's cleaner. She goes to school during the day and helps her mother with work at night. Jiu's eyes showed a trace of shock, followed by a trace of heartache. He shouted to Ju Shaman, "Hey, it's so cold, don't mop, anyway, no one is checking." Ju Shaman straightened up. Her black hair draped over her shoulders, and a stubborn expression on her pretty face. She shook her head. "No, if someone comes to check and finds that the floor is not clean, my mother will be deducted 100 yuan from her salary. I know that 100 yuan is nothing to a young master like you, but to my family, it is my weekly food expenses." After that, Ju Shaman bent over and continued to mop the floor. In fact, Ju Shaman's intentions were obvious, with so many floors. She chose to wipe them in front of Jiu. She even let her hair down and found a good angle to make herself look the most beautiful. Unfortunately, Jiu fell for it. Sure enough, Jiu walked up, helped Ju Shaman up, snatched the rag from her hand, and threw it to his followers. "You guys, help her wipe the rest of the floor." He glanced at Ju Shaman's frozen red hands, thought about it, and put his coat on her. "It's too late. How are you going to get home later? Bike. You ride a bike in such a cold day?" Jiu was shocked, and then said without question, "Go downstairs and wait. I'll let my driver take you." Ju Shaman was protected by Jiu and left. Before leaving, she did not forget to look back quietly and gave me a mocking smile at the embarrassed me. After a while, everyone dispersed, and I was the only one left by the pool. I got up with difficulty and wiped the water dripping from my hair with my sleeve. "Use this." A cold voice sounded behind me. I turned around and it was Song Xiaoli, the monitor of our class. She was a taciturn girl who studied very hard and wore long sleeves regardless of spring, summer, autumn, or winter. In her previous life, she also helped Ju Shaman when she was bullied. She handed Ju Shaman a towel and advised Ju Shaman to expose Jiu's bullying, but Ju Shaman slapped her hand away. "What do you know? That's my brother." At that time, Ju Shaman was still dreaming of making Jiu like her. So later, Song Xiaoli stopped caring about her and continued to be alone in silence. Later, when graduation was approaching, Song Xiaoli committed suicide. Only then did we know that her family was very, very poor. Her grandmother was bedridden all year round, and her father was a gambler who not only abused her at home, but also sold her to pay off debts. At this moment, she stood beside me with a clean towel in her hand. I was stunned for a moment and took it. She didn't say much and turned away. Maybe she felt that there was nothing to say to a young lady like me. Seeing her back was about to disappear, I suddenly spoke. "Class monitor." Her footsteps paused. I scratched my head. "Well, I just transferred here and I don't know the way yet." "Where is the cafeteria? Can you take me there?" There were 4 dishes and 1 soup on the table in the cafeteria: braised spare ribs, steamed egg with meat, cola chicken wings, stir-fried choy sum, and clam and winter melon soup, as expected of the best high school in Jiangcheng. The cafeteria's food has always been a source of pride. I scratched my head again. I accidentally ordered too much. It's shameful to waste. You probably haven't had dinner yet, right? Let's eat together. Song Xiaoli was silent for a moment, and finally picked up the chopsticks and ate in small bites. I looked at her wrists exposed from the sleeves of her school uniform, which were thin and bony. In fact, girls like the class monitor are the ones who really need help, but they are not beautiful, and they don't cry out in pain, so they will only become barren weeds in the memory of youth, and they are not even qualified to be the heroines of idol dramas. In this life, I have to save not only myself, but also her. After I settled my mind, I spoke. "Oh, conic sections are so difficult, I can't understand them at all. Class monitor, you are a good student, why don't you give me some extra lessons?" Song Xiaoli was holding braised pork ribs, with a look of shock on her face. "Are we familiar with each other?" I didn't give her a chance to refuse. I put my arm around the class monitor's shoulders and said happily, "Then it's decided, I will give you tutoring fees." I gave part of the living expenses to the class monitor, calling it prepayment of tutoring fees in advance. She looked at the 100 red bills in the envelope and was so shocked that she couldn't speak. In fact, whether in the past life or this life, the GU family never treated their adopted daughter unfairly in terms of the most basic food, clothing, and living expenses. But for GU Jiue, the small amount of money given to Song Xiaoli was enough for her to buy medicine for her grandmother and pay for hospitalization. She could even rent a small house outside the school to stay away from her violent father. After making an appointment with the monitor for the next day's makeup class, I went home. The luxurious villa was empty. Gu's father was out for business and entertainment, and Gu's mother went to the beauty salon for maintenance. As for Jiu Jiue, he should be having dinner at Ju's house now. In the past life, Jiu Jiue asked the driver to take me home. Ju's adoptive parents saw him and warmly invited him to dinner. Then, just like the standard plot in idol dramas, a dinner made the young master, who had been accustomed to the cold life of a wealthy family since childhood, feel the strong family affection in a poor family. The simple smiles on the faces of Ju's parents are always there. The small and shabby room is full of fireworks. All of these made Jiu Jiue yearn for it, and he liked the poor little white flower born in such a family even more. At this moment, although he and Ju Shaman were eating food without oil and water, they should be very happy in their hearts. I slowly changed into Hermes pajamas, washed my face with Chanel facial cleanser, ate a bowl of rock sugar bird's nest brought by the nanny, and sneered at the corner of my mouth. No one knows that the Ju family is indeed poor, but not simple. The couple favored boys over girls and originally wanted to adopt a boy, but there were really no non-disabled boys in the welfare home, so they had to settle for the second best and decided to choose a beautiful daughter so that they could recruit a rich son-in-law in the future. Seeing Jiu Jiue sending his daughter home, the couple's blood was boiling, and they immediately took this potential son-in-law home and treated him well. The so-called family affection and the so-called fireworks are just a performance. After all, if they want to impress the young masters in the rich families, they only have these things to show. In my previous life, when I told them that I didn't want to marry Jiu Jiue, my adoptive mother locked me in the room, and my adoptive father beat me half to death with a table leg and a belt. Shaman thought she had entered heaven in this life, but she didn't know that there was no real heaven in the world. The Jiu family was a rich hell, and the Ju family was a poor hell. Who could crawl out of hell alive depended on their own abilities. In the following days, Jiu Jiue's malice intensified. When I opened the lunchbox prepared by the nanny, a box of thumbtacks was poured into it. Dead spiders would squeeze out of my facial cleanser and toothpaste. The skirts in the closet were burned with holes one by cigarette butts, and every time I looked up in shock, I could see Jiu Jiue's bad smile. He mouthed to me, "Jiu Shichu, you deserve it." Jiu Jiue thought I would cry, but I just calmly dumped the thumbtacks, threw the spider into the trash can, and folded the skirt and put it away. So, the smile on Jiu Jiue's face disappeared. He stared at me and said in a voice that was almost gritting his teeth, "I wonder how long you can pretend." Fortunately, this time, although I had to bear Jiu Jiue's malice, all the resources of the Jiu family fell on me. I no longer have to go to school during the day and be forced to help my adoptive mother work at night. On the contrary, there is a nanny to take care of me, and a driver to pick me up when I go out, so I only need to concentrate on my studies. In my previous life, if I wanted to buy extracurricular teaching materials, I needed to save money for a long time, and I had to be careful that my adoptive father would not take my money away to buy wine and play cards for himself. Now, there are a lot of brand-name clothes in the closet, and Van Cleef Arpels and Cartier in the jewelry box. These are all given by Gu's mother, and I don't need to pay for them myself. In addition, at the beginning of each month, there is 50,000 yuan of pocket money in cash and a credit card with a limit of 100,000 yuan. If you spend it all, you only need to tell the housekeeper and new money will be deposited into the card within half an hour. The hard life I had in the past fell completely on Ju Shaman. I saw that she was sleeping during class time because she had to help her adoptive mother with work at night and didn't get enough sleep. Gradually, she started not doing her homework and handed in blank exams. In my previous life, I relied on black coffee to keep alive. When I was really sleepy, I would prick myself with a compass and study hard. but Ju Shaman lived a pampered life in her previous life. She didn't have this kind of ambition and perseverance, not to mention that she didn't care about her studies. In her opinion, being the fiancé of the prince of the Jiyu family is far more valuable than being admitted to Tsinghua University or Peking University, so, Ju Shaman put all her energy on how to make Jiyu Jiwa like her more. She didn't listen to the math class, and secretly wrote a diary specifically for Jiyu Jiwa. She didn't come to the dance rehearsal, and went out of school with Jiyu Jiwa to go for a drive in the suburbs to watch the stars. As a result, on the eve of the dance performance, she sat outside the rehearsal room and cried. I guess Ju Shaman deliberately studied the crying method of the heroine in idol dramas, looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, with tears in her eyes, stubbornly refusing to let them fall. As a result, she was seen by Jiyu Jiwa, who passed by. The moment Jiyu Jiwa asked her what was wrong, Ju Shaman's tears that had been suppressed for a long time finally fell. She threw herself into Jiyu Jiwa's arms and burst into tears. Jiwa, I don't have the right to go on stage anymore. All the girls in the class went on stage, but Jiyu Shichu didn't let me. Jiyu Jiwa already hated me to the extreme, and he got angry when he heard it. Why? Ju Shaman bit her lip and tried her best to stop crying, but she couldn't help sobbing. She said, my mother is a cleaner, and my father is a security guard. I can't even afford a performance costume. I don't deserve to go on stage. Jiyu Jiwa's face became uglier and uglier. He looked at Ju Shaman, who was crying out of breath, and whispered, isn't it just a performance costume? I'll buy it for you. Ju Shaman shook her head, with the righteousness of a poor little white flower. No, one piece costs 800 yuan. I can't accept such an expensive gift from you. Jiyu Jiwa was so angry and distressed. How dare Jiyu Shichu do that? He blurted out in anger. Ju Shaman shook her head with tears in her eyes. After all, she is your sister, the eldest daughter of the Jiyu family. Several buildings in the school were donated by your family, and your father is an honorary school director. Even if the teachers know that she is a bully, what can they do? Ju Shaman did not notice that a reporter who came to the school for an interview happened to pass by behind her, stretching his head over. The reporter asked sensitively, like a shark smelling blood, bullying? What bullying? Things suddenly got out of hand. In the largest conference room of the school, a group of people stood in a crowd: the principal, the vice principal, the dean of studies, and the class teacher, reporters from different newspapers. The parents of the Jiyu family and the Ju family all came. Ju's father and mother protected Ju Shaman, whose face was covered with tears, and stood in a corner of the conference room, their faces full of grievances and anger. Gu's father and mother originally did not want to come after hearing that I was in trouble on the phone, until they heard that even the newly appointed director of the Education Bureau came. The scene was not there, so he hurried over. Jiangcheng No. 1 High School is the best high school in the city, and it is also a typical place for the Education Bureau to catch. Gu's father and the director of the Education Bureau are obviously old friends. As soon as he entered the door, he came to the director's side and said tactfully, this little thing actually alarmed even Director Li. In fact, it's just a conflict between children. As a result, the director of the Education Bureau was very upright and didn't buy it at all. Mr. Jiyu, bullying is never a trivial matter at any time. I know Jiyu Shichu is your daughter, but any child is a student and a sapling to me. I can't watch them grow crooked. At this point, Gu's father couldn't say anything more, and could only smile. Yes, we don't know what happened. You investigate it carefully. Back to Gu's mother. The two of them exchanged glances silently. I understand. If it is really confirmed that I bully, the Jiyu family will immediately give up on me, the adopted daughter with no feelings, and completely cut ties with me. The attitude of Gu's father and mother was like this. As for Jiyu Jiwa, he stood beside Ju Shaman, who was sobbing constantly, comforting her softly, and occasionally raised his dark eyes and glanced at me coldly. The principal saw that everyone was there, so he asked Ju Shaman, Student Ju, tell me about the situation. Ju Shaman raised her red eyes and repeated what she had said to Jiyu Jiwa in a low voice. The reporters were already indignant. Someone took the lead and said, after our prior investigation, Jiyu Shichu and Ju Shaman were friends in the same welfare home and were once sisters. Later, Jiyu Shichu was adopted by the Jiyu group, But Ju Shimon's adoptive parents were just ordinary school employees. Ji Shichu, can you bully your former partners and take away the opportunities that originally belonged to him just because you entered a rich family? There was silence. The reporter's eyes were all fixed on me, and the red dots of the cameras kept flashing. No one wanted to dig out explosive news. After all, this is a very sensitive social topic. At a time when social classes have gradually solidified, if children from rich families continue to take away educational resources that originally belonged to poor children and block the latter's upward path, it is enough to arouse considerable public indignation, not to mention that the protagonists of the news event are a dramatic control group like Ju Shaman and me. In the office where you can hear a pin drop, I suddenly burst out laughing, and the sound was very abrupt. The reporters all looked at each other. This reporter teacher, I read in a book that the news obtained by journalists needs to be cross-verified and fact-checked. What, now in order to rush to report a hot news, you can directly skip the work steps? For a moment, the reporter's face turned red. I stood up and pointed at Ju Shaman coldly. Now she is the only source of information, and all the situations are her one-sided words. I looked at Ju Shaman, who was crying and pale. I did treat you as a sister. But in the previous life, you killed me because of jealousy. In this life, you climbed up by framing me. Then if I ruined you, it was your own fault. Since the reporter teacher asked me now, I will tell you what I know. Ju Shaman is jealous of me. She thinks that we are all the same at the beginning. She is even prettier and smarter than me. Why do I have a better life than her now? Because of jealousy, she made up this excuse to frame me. As soon as this was said, Jiu Jiue directly refuted. Obviously, what he wanted to say was that Ju Shaman took the initiative to choose the poor Ju family, so she couldn't be a person who despised the poor and loved the rich. My excuse was obviously a distortion of the truth, but before he could finish, the door of the principal's office was suddenly opened. Outside the door stood a thin figure with short hair and silence, like an unnoticeable weed. Our head teacher recognized her. Song Xiaoli, what are you doing here? At this time in the previous life, Song Xiaoli had committed suicide, but in this life, she survived. Step by step, Song Xiaoli walked in and stood beside me. She whispered, I'm here to testify. She came in so abruptly that the reporters didn't react for a while. Someone asked, classmate, are you here to testify that Jiu Shichu bullied Ju Shaman? After all, judging from her dress, Song Xiaoli is obviously not a rich kid. At a glance, she and Ju Shaman are more like the same kind of people. Song Xiaoli glanced at the person who asked the question and shook her head. She said, I'm here to testify for Jiu Shichu. I looked at Song Xiaoli in surprise. To be honest, I made a lot of preparations in advance for today's confrontation, but Song Xiaoli, she is not the witness I prepared. After all, our relationship is not very close. After I gave her the money last time, she checked the tuition fees on the market, calculated it based on 1 hour a day, and then returned all the extra money to me. She taught me math for an hour every day, and left on time with her school bag on her back, like an artificial intelligence robot that had been set up to run a program. In her previous life, Song Xiaoli committed suicide by jumping off a building before the college entrance examination. All her hopes were placed on getting into a good university and making money as soon as possible to treat her grandmother's illness. As a result, 1 month before the college entrance examination, her father lost money in gambling, drank a few bottles of low-quality liquor, and went home to give Song Xiaoli the worst beating ever. Song Xiaoli's right hand was broken. That was her hand for writing. No one knows what Song Xiaoli's father did that day, and what the scarred Song Xiaoli experienced. When people found her again, this forever silent girl had jumped off the rooftop. In this life, although Song Xiaoli and I have not become friends, I still want to save her, so I paid 2 hooligans to beat Song Xiaoli's father into the hospital. This way, at least until the end of the college entrance examination, this man will not be able to commit domestic violence. In order to prepare for this carefully, I missed an evening self-study class for the first time. Then when I came back, I was caught by Song Xiaoli, who was responsible for recording attendance. She asked me, why did you skip the evening self-study class? I scratched my head and tried to find an excuse. After all, I looked lively and healthy, and I couldn't tell her that I skipped class to beat your father. At this juncture, Song Xiaoli was called out by the teacher in the communication room. Xiaoli, there is a call for you. It was the news that Song Xiaoli's father had an accident. 5 minutes later, Song Xiaoli came back, and her face was still expressionless. She picked up the attendance sheet again and put it down again. I won't record it this time, she said calmly. Don't be absent next time. At that time, I breathed a sigh of relief and rolled back to my seat to study. At this moment, Song Xiaoli said in the same calm tone, I testify for Jiyu Shichu. I realized that she might know. Facing the eyes of the whole room, Song Xiaoli took out a stack of forms and put them on the table. Zhu Shiman's face turned pale instantly. According to the school's regulations, you need to fill out a form to rehearse in the dance studio. The time of borrowing the classroom and who borrowed the classroom are all in the form, but this thing is not strictly checked, and it is troublesome to fill it out, so later on, basically no one filled it out. They just said hello to the dance teacher and went directly. No one thought that Song Xiaoli filled out the form meticulously every time and kept all the forms, so in full view of the public, everyone could clearly see that there were more than 30 forms in total, and there were only 2 forms with Zhu Shiman's name in the personnel using the classroom. In other words, she participated in more than 30 rehearsals twice. Song Xiaoli saw that everyone had seen the list clearly. And then she slowly spoke. Zhu Shiman said that Jiyu Shichu laughed at her for not being able to buy a performance costume, so he didn't let her go on stage, but when I told Jiyu Shichu that I couldn't afford a performance costume and didn't want to participate, Jiyu Shichu asked me to continue rehearsing. The next day, I found out that she had bought everyone's performance costumes. Zhu Shiman also said that Jiyu Shichu bullied her because her father was a school worker and her mother was a cleaner, but my father doesn't even have a proper job, and the whole family relies on my grandmother's low-income life to survive. Song Xiaoli looked at me. Since you can bully the poor, why don't you bully me? This self-exposing scar-like speech stunned everyone present. In silence, I sighed, took out my phone, and played a video publicly. In this video, everyone can see that Zhu Shiman missed the beat, forgot the moves, and couldn't keep up. Among all the people, she was the only one who was so bad at a glance. Yes, after all, she went to watch the stars with Jiyu Jiwe during the previous rehearsal. Actually, Zhu Shiman didn't really want to participate in this performance. She just saw that I rejected her, so she went to Jiyu Jiwe to make a fuss and make him like her more and hate me more. She didn't expect that this matter would become so big. And I had so much evidence. Originally, I shouldn't have taken the initiative to eliminate Zhu Shiman, but this dance performance has special recruitment bonus points. There are 2 girls in our group who are special students, and they are counting on these bonus points to go to school. If I still let Zhu Shiman participate, it would delay the future of those 2 girls, so I had to make this decision. After the interview, the reputation of Zhu Shiman and I suddenly reversed. Classmates said she had paranoia and started to stay away from her. Don't get too close to Zhu Shiman, otherwise if there is any conflict, she will say that she bullies her because she is poor. To be honest, her family is not that poor, right? Both her parents have proper jobs. There are many poor students in our school who receive student loans, but they haven't cried and shouted that they are bullied. Well, some people don't work hard and just like to blame fate. For all this, Zhu Shiman was unexpectedly very quiet. She spent the last independent review period quietly, and she didn't make any trouble until the end of the college entrance examination. Song Xiaoli reminded me, be careful, she should be preparing to fight back. I smiled. It's okay, she can keep her temper. So can I can feel that Zhu Shiman is secretly working on something, because at home, it is visibly that Jiyu Jiwe's attitude towards me is getting worse and worse. In the past, when he bullied me, he would at least avoid Gu's father and mother. Now, the family was eating, and he suddenly slammed the bowl of chicken soup on the table, and the soup with hot oil immediately splashed on my face. The nanny next to him exclaimed and quickly brought me an ice pack and scald medicine. During the whole process, Gu's mother buried her head in the soup, as if she didn't see it. Gu's father raised his head slightly and said to Jiyu Jiwe, you move gently, don't let people think that our child is uneducated. Gu's father and mother don't care about me. To them, I am just an emotionless adopted daughter. I was brought home by the fortune teller, but I was just placed there like a fortune tree for good luck. In the previous life, Zhu Shiman had tried to cultivate feelings with Gu's father and mother. Facts have proved that this idea is completely wrong. When Gu's father and mother are busy, they even throw their biological son directly to the nanny. How can they cultivate feelings with their adopted daughter? In a wealthy family, talking about feelings is the most useless, and talking about interests is effective. So, I put down the ice pack and spoke calmly. Dad, Mom, I have something to tell you. I got 718 points in the college entrance examination, and I am the top scorer in science. As soon as the words fell, Gu's father and mother looked up at the same time. Even Jiu opened his eyes wide. I picked up a chopstick of stir-fried kale and ate it slowly, then faced the surprised eyes of the three people at the table and spoke lightly. My parents said before that learning is our own business, so I didn't want to report it. But the teacher just called me and said that a reporter wanted to interview your parents' educational experience, so I wanted to ask if your parents are free. In my previous life, even though I worked part-time and studied part-time, my academic performance was very good. In this life, I learned the same knowledge again, and without all kinds of obstacles, my grades are soaring. Gu's father and mother looked at each other. Before this, they had never paid attention to the college entrance examination. Jiu had applied for a school in Australia a long time ago, and was sent abroad to study after graduating from high school. Without having to take the college entrance examination, as for me, their adopted daughter, they left it to fate and didn't bother to think about it. No one could have thought that I would do so well in the exam. I want to apply to Guanghua School of Management at Peking University. I looked at Father Gu. I went to the investment department of Dad Group for an internship when I was a freshman. Father Gu was silent for 2 seconds, and when he spoke again, he had a smile on his face. You have this intention, so it's naturally good. Shichu, congratulations. Sister Lee, bring the red wine in my trunk. Shichu should be 18 years old. Right, let's celebrate today. I ignored Jiu's gloomy eyes that were almost dripping with water, raised my glass and clinked it with Father and Mother Jiu, and gently thanked them for their cultivation of me. I bet right, Father and Mother Jiu don't care about an ordinary adopted daughter. But what if the adopted daughter is the top scorer in the college entrance examination? That would be the glory of the family, the symbol of the successful education of the parents, and the hope for the future. Both Gu's father and mother were very happy. They opened several bottles of their collection of red wine, made an appointment with me for a reporter interview, and then went back to rest in a tipsy mood. Only Jiu and I were left at the table. The light of the crystal lamp cast a dark and unclear light on Jiu's face. He inherited Gu's mother's appearance, with a handsome nose and deep eyebrows. He looked like a handsome and unruly young master from a wealthy family. However, at this moment, he looked at me with his beautiful eyes, and his dark eyes were cold. Jiu, you don't think that you can become a member of my family like this, right? I stood up, put the chair back to its original position in a very polite manner, and then leaned close to Jiu's ear and whispered, "Young master, let's find out the situation. Now it's your parents who take the initiative to become a family with me." On the day I went back to school to get my transcript, I met Ju Shaman. She stood in the shadows and looked at me. Her expression was jealous, confused, and angry. I know that she saw the video of Gu's father and mother and I being interviewed together. In the video, Gu's mother put her arm around my shoulders, while Gu's father talked to the host complimented him from time to time that he was both a successful entrepreneur and a successful educator. At the end, our family of 3 took a group photo, and we looked like the perfect family in the advertisement. This is what Ju Shaman never got in her previous life. She looked at me and whispered indignantly, "What means did you use?" I shrugged. "Study hard and make progress every day. Do you believe it?" After that, I turned and left. Ju Shaman must not believe it, but this is the only solution. I heard Ju Shaman whispered behind, "Even if you get the love of Gu's father and mother, it's useless. The person Jiu loves is me." Very good, isn't it the standard configuration of the heroine of idol dramas to be with the hero? Even if the parents don't support it, even if they are enemies with the whole world, they must always be together. I wish her well. As a result, 10 minutes later, I met the hero of the idol drama. Jiu was followed by a group of followers, blocking me in the corridor. At this time, the teachers and students had left, and the teaching building was empty. Even if I asked for help, no one would hear it. I looked up and my heart sank. Even the surveillance was broken in advance. This was well prepared. Jiu stood in front of me and whispered, Jiu, it's time to wake up from the dream of a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Today, I will show you what the fate of a hypocritical person is. As soon as he finished speaking, the followers around him rushed up, grabbed my hair, and slammed me against the wall. With a bang, the wall dust fell down in a flutter. I was in so much pain that I saw stars, but I didn't know where I got the strength to kick the follower's crotch fiercely. Only with a scream, the henchman fell to the ground. His facial features twisted into a ball. Jiu's face changed, and he was about to ask other henchmen to come forward, when I suddenly took out a bottle of red wine from my school bag. There was a dinner party in the evening, and Gu's father gave it to me and asked me to drink it with my classmates. At this moment, I smashed the bottle against the wall, and the red liquid and fragments splashed together. Then I raised the bottle and pointed the sharp edges at the dozen boys. Come on, I shouted. My hair was already a mess, with dirty wall dust on it. There was warm liquid flowing from my nose all the way to my chin, which should be blood. I don't know how crazy I look now, but obviously, these dozen boys were scared by me, and no one came over for a while. I reached out and wiped the blood from my nose, and smiled. Hypocrisy. Jiu, you really know how to say it. Okay, I'm hypocritical, and you're righteous. At least I, the hypocritical one, donated money to save people. What about our righteous Jiu Shao, who got your help? It can't be just your beloved little white flower, right? In the distance, Jiu Shaman bit her lip and dodged to the side. In fact, she didn't need to hide. I saw her a long time ago. Jiu was going to teach me a lesson for her. How could she miss this good show? The blood from my nose kept flowing down, and it couldn't be wiped clean, so I just ignored it, looking at Jiu and then at the dozen people behind him. I smiled calmly. Jiu, you brought so many people here and made such a big noise. It's better not to let me go back alive today. Otherwise, the smile on my face disappeared. If you let me go alive, I will definitely drag you to hell with me. Jiu's face turned pale, just like Jiu Shaman once said. Gu's father is an honorary school director. The Jiu family is rich and powerful, and Jiu bullies classmates in school as long as he doesn't really cause trouble. Many teachers turn a blind eye, but Jiu doesn't have the courage to kill people in school. He stared at me for a long time and whispered, a scheming girl like you, it's a good thing for you to die now. I laughed. Is this scheming? Do you want to know what real scheming looks like? Looking at Jiu, a thrilling pleasure passed through my heart. Finally I can tell you, I said word by word. The reporter who investigated the bullying incident was found by me, in an instant. The pupils of Jiu and Jiu Shaman all dilated. Why do you think it was such a coincidence? I just said something about bullying, and the reporter who came to the school to investigate heard it immediately. I pointed at myself with a smile, because I found that reporter. I wrote anonymous letters to several newspapers, reporting that there was serious bullying in Jiangcheng No. 1 middle school. If this kind of thing is true, it will be on the front page. So they will definitely send someone to investigate. I knew that Jiu Shimon's brain was not working at all. I kicked her off the dance program. She would most likely find you and say that I bullied her. It just so happened that she came to you to cry and the reporter was secretly investigating. It was a perfect match. The reporter must investigate me, of course. I have prepared everything I should prepare, and I will definitely be able to prove my innocence in the end. But Jiu, think about it. After the reporters find out that this is a misunderstanding and the bully is not me, will they stop or continue to investigate? Jiu's face suddenly lost all color. I smiled. Do you understand? The whole incident was prepared for you by me. Among the 7 or 8 reporters that day, even if only 2 were left to continue investigating, you would have been in trouble. You should have heard what the director of the Education Bureau said. He hates bullying the most. If your bullying incident is exposed, your father will not be able to protect you. Did you see it, Jiu Shao? This is called scheming, I said with a smile, and Jiu's face was extremely ugly, and the boys around him were already impatient. What should we do, brother Jiu? Will the reporters still be in the school? If they find this way, we're done. If there is a record, this will be a lifelong thing. These boys are basically children from ordinary families. They dared to follow Jiyu Jiwa to do evil, just because they thought Jiyu Jiwa had a strong background and nothing would happen, but the posture of the group interview in the conference room that day was enough to scare anyone away. At least I was nominally the daughter of the Jiyu family, and I almost ruined my reputation, not to mention others. The whole thing was handled by me, killing the chicken to scare the monkey. The one being investigated was me, the fake bully, and the one being shocked was Jiyu Jiwa, the real bully. So, dear brother, please love me, take care of me, and support my work in Jiyu Group. I approached Jiyu Jiwa, smiling like a flower, otherwise I will drag the entire Jiyu family down with me. The smile suddenly disappeared. I hit Jiyu Jiwa's neck with a broken wine bottle, and turned away. No one stopped me the whole time, only Ju Shimon's crying voice sounded behind me. Jiwa, how can you let her go like this? Jiyu Jiwa's cold and irritable voice responded to her. Get lost. Jiyu Jiwa seemed to be obedient all of a sudden. In the past, he never let me attend any banquet of the Jiyu family. This time, someone invited him to attend the dinner, and he took the initiative to say to Gu's mother, I'll take my sister with me. Mom, please prepare a dress for my sister. On the phone, I heard Ju Shaman quarreling with him. If you want to bring a female companion, shouldn't you also bring me? Jiyu Jiwa's voice was very impatient. I have already paid for you to study in Australia together. What else do you want? Ju Shaman did very poorly in the college entrance examination. She was not a good student in her previous life, and she was obsessed with how to please the Jiyu family. This life has gone from easy mode to hell mode, and her grades are even worse. The only way out is to hold on to Jiyu Jiwa and be with him, but I can see that Jiyu Jiwa is a little annoyed. Ju Shaman initially attracted Jiyu Jiwa by relying on the stubborn independence of the poor little white flower who could not be corrupted by wealth and power, but this is actually not her true nature. People can pretend for a while, but it is difficult to pretend for a lifetime. Jiyu Jiwa likes girls who are poor but say no to luxury gifts, not girls who cry and beg him to take her with him to study in Australia. But there is no way. Ju Shaman can pretend to be the former, but she can't pretend to be the latter, because she has no other way out. If Jiyu Jiwa doesn't take her, she will really be trapped to death in the suffocating Ju family. After the summer vacation, Ju Shaman and Jiyu Jiwa went to Australia together. In fact, Jiyu Jiwa has never publicly said that his girlfriend is Ju Shaman, but Ju's parents can't wait. They found paparazzi, followed Jiyu Jiwa and Ju Shaman, took photos of the two, and posted them online. The son of Jiyu Group and his girlfriend had an intimate meal. The two are childhood sweethearts. After seeing the report, Gu's father threw his phone. What a despicable trick. You haven't even graduated from college yet, and you're rushing to stuff someone into our house. After Jiyu Jiwa returned home, Gu's father scolded him. If you want to get married, wait for me and your mother to arrange it for you. You can find a few people to talk to, but don't find me this kind of stuff that can't be put on the table at first glance. Jiyu Jiwa listened silently. His eyes kept looking at me sitting next to him quietly. I felt his gaze, but I just buried my head in the financial report. The Ju family's parents were like this in their previous life. As soon as Jiyu Jiwa showed a little affection for me, they wanted to drug me and send me directly to the Jiyu family's bed. As for Gu's father and mother, they also strongly opposed Jiyu Jiwa marrying a daughter from such a family in their previous life. However, they didn't live long and died before Jiyu Jiwa got married. Gu's father scolded Jiyu Jiwa and strictly forbade him to meet Ju Shaman during the holidays. Jiyu Jiwa didn't resist. He stayed at home, showed me kindness from time to time, and bought me expensive diamond earrings as a birthday gift. I partied with friends until late, and he drove outside the bar to pick me up. Song Xiaoli sat next to me, holding a non-alcoholic mojito, looking at Jiyu Shiyu who was smoking one cigarette after another outside. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something to me. I reached out to stop her. I know what you are going to say. Don't worry, I know what I am thinking. After saying goodbye to my friends, I sat in the passenger seat of Jiyu Jiwa's car. He handed me a bag. I looked down and saw hangover soup and a small cake from my favorite dessert shop. I smiled. Jiyu Jiwa, there is no need. He stepped on the accelerator silently without saying anything. It was quiet all the way. When I got home, I threw the hangover soup and the small cake into the trash can together. Jiyu Jiwa stood by and watched, and didn't say anything until the end. I went back to my room and didn't want to care about him. Song Xiaoli was studying computer science at Tsinghua University next door. Recently, she developed a program that can improve the efficiency of corporate personnel management. This is a good opportunity to start my own business. I have been interning in the strategic investment department of GU Group for almost 3 years and have a certain say. I decided to allocate 2 million funds to Song Xiaoli to co-found a company. She is responsible for technology and I am responsible for business. There are many things to do recently. In comparison, Jiu Jiwa is really unimportant. I didn't expect that Zhu Shaman saw Jiu Jiwa sending me home. She couldn't see Jiu Jiwa for too long, so she waited at the door of the villa area, wanting to see Jiu Jiwa. As a result, she happened to see me getting out of Jiu Jiwa's car. I can imagine that Zhu Shaman was extremely scared at that moment. She probably saw the scene of her previous life again. Jiu Jiwa sneered and asked her to leave the house, but turned around and gently put on a wedding dress for me. That was her deepest nightmare. Early Monday morning, I met with potential clients and left the other party's company building with information. As a result, I saw a familiar figure at the stairs. Zhu Shaman has lost weight, her cheeks are slightly sunken, and her eyes are full of red bloodshot. Despite this, she is still beautiful, with a small face the size of a palm and Barbie-like eyes, like a star torn from a picture. In fact, Zhu Shaman was the most beautiful of all the children in the welfare home. Almost all the families who came to adopt her would take a fancy to her at first sight. If she hadn't been too ambitious, she would have been adopted long ago. It is precisely because of this that she is particularly unwilling. Walking towards me step by step, Zhu Shaman stopped in front of me. She was wearing high heels and was half a head taller than me, who was wearing flat shoes when I went out for business. Zhu Shaman said, "I'm pregnant, it's Jiu Jiwa's." I said, "Really? Then it's better not to wear such high heels." Zhu Shaman stared at my face, trying to find some traces of emotional fluctuations on my face, but she found nothing. So, she was the first to break down. "Shichu, what other tricks do you have? How did you snatch Jiu Jiwa from me? It's obvious that the person he likes in this life should be me. You should be the person he hates the most. And he shouldn't leave you a penny in the future. Why have I tried hard to study all the ways you tried to please him in the last life, and did it, but he is still getting colder and colder to me. What tricks are you hiding that you haven't told me?" I looked at Zhu Shaman, who broke down and cried for a long time, and just sighed. "Make way, I have another customer to visit." Zhu Shaman looked up at me. "Jiu Shichu, you don't say it, right? It doesn't matter." At that moment, I realized something, but it was too late. Zhu Shaman came forward, hugged me tightly, and then leaned back. We rolled down the stairs together. With a loud bang, Zhu Shaman and I fell to the bottom of the stairs together. The back of my head probably hit the railing, and everything went dark before my eyes. There was a sharp pain in my knee, and I couldn't even tell which leg could move. In the darkness, I only heard Zhu Shaman crying, "Jiwa." I raised my head with great effort, and I vaguely saw the person standing in front of me. "Jiu Jiwa." One blood spread from under Zhu Shiman's skirt. She cried and said, "Jiwa, our child is gone. It was your sister who pushed me. She said that your child would take away her share of the family property when it was born." Jiu Jiwa's face was ashen. After a long time, he bent down and picked me up. Zhu Shiman's eyes suddenly widened. She looked at Jiu Jiwa in disbelief and cried sadly, "Jiwa." Jiu Jiwa said coldly, "Zhu Shaman, you make me sick." Zhu Shaman trembled all over. This was her nightmare. In the last life, Jiu Jiwa often said this to her. "Jiu Shaman, you make me sick." In this life, the choice is different. The process is different, but why is it the same ending? Zhu Shaman seemed to be crazy. She screamed, "Why? I obviously made the right choice. The right choice. Why is it that no matter how I choose, the result is always like this?" I didn't hear her next words. The dizziness from the back of my head became stronger and stronger. The world gradually fell into darkness. The ward was filled with a faint smell of disinfectant. I opened my eyes and Jiu Jiwa was sitting by the bed. He whispered. "Zhu Shaman asked me to go, probably because she had planned to frame you, but I went early, so I heard the whole conversation. Shichu, you should take good care of your injuries and don't think about anything else. Also, Zhu Shiman's child, she drugged my juice. My legs are still hurting, and my back of the head is still hurting." But I still interrupted Jiu Jiwa rudely. "Excuse me, Are you explaining to me? Jiu was stunned. I pulled the quilt up. If your parents hold you accountable for this matter, you will naturally have to explain to them. But I don't think I have anything to do with it, right? Jiu paused for a long time and said softly, I want to break up with her. An awkward silence. I smiled. It seems to have nothing to do with me. Jiu raised his eyes to look at me in panic. Shichu, do you really not understand what I mean? I looked into Jiu's eyes quietly. His eyes became more and more expectant. When this expectation reached its peak, I laughed. Of course I understand. Jiu, you are the most powerful criminal, chief, master, in the world. Jiu's eyes dimmed in an instant. He was silent for a long time before whispering, I know I have done a lot of wrong things, but I am willing to spend the rest of my life trying to ask for your forgiveness. When you first came to my house, I really hated you, but I don't know why. But later I couldn't help but care more and more about you. When you threatened me in the school corridor and said you would drag the entire GU family to hell, I was not angry. On the contrary, I found that you are completely different from what I imagined. Strong, brave, and full of vitality. It's me. It's the way I like. After confessing softly, Jiu lowered his head and murmured, Recently I often have a dream that I got married and the bride is you. In the dream, I held your hand and said, what's mine is yours. At the beginning, we can be very happy. I smiled. Well, Jiu, we can be very happy. How about this? You go and drink the water in the toilet, and I'll think about it. Okay. Jiu left. He said he knew I couldn't forgive him for the time being, but he was willing to wait. After Jiu left the ward, Song Xiaoli, who had been waiting outside, came to me. I glanced at her. Did you hear everything? I heard it. What do you want to tell me now? I want to ask you whether the customer's intention this morning is greater than 50%, and when can the contract be finalized? You are so heartless. Shouldn't you at least ask me when I will be discharged from the hospital? I just asked the doctor at the door, and he said the day after tomorrow. I have modified the subsequent work schedule accordingly, and the next roadshow is tentatively scheduled for the day after tomorrow. You won't let me rest for a few more days. No, I know what is best for you important. You are worthy of being my partner. I am very satisfied. With such an excellent business partner, why should I worry about not being rich? After the roadshow, I stayed for a day to visit Ju Shaman in the hospital. She lost her child and was lying on the hospital bed, looking listless and with all the flesh on her face gone. Jiu had already broken up with her during the days she was in the hospital. Ju's parents never came to accompany her. The only group of guests who came were those she had never expected, the director of the welfare home and several friends who were also orphans. It was Shichu who reimbursed us for the travel expenses. She has been donating money to us over the years. Thanks to her, Xiaojuo and Lily have improved a lot, said the director. Ju Shaman was stunned. In fact, it is difficult for most children in the welfare home to find adopters. They were abandoned. Some because of physical disabilities, some because of intellectual disabilities, and some because of terminal illnesses. In comparison, Ju Shaman and I are healthy and beautiful, and we are already the luckiest of the lucky ones. At the beginning, the director told us that we are a big family and all the children are brothers and sisters. But after leaving the welfare home, Shaman never thought of her brothers and sisters again. On the contrary, I often went back to volunteer in my previous life. After entering the GU family in this life, I donated a large sum of money directly to help the disabled children get treatment and find a way out. Seeing these children stuttering and discussing Sister Shichu in front of her, Ju Shaman suddenly burst into tears. She cried for a long time. So long that the director of the welfare home took the children to say goodbye to her, and I came to her side, but she didn't notice. I waited calmly for her to finish crying. After a while, Ju Shaman covered her face with her hands and whispered, Do you hate me very much? Before I could answer, Ju Shaman said, I hate you too. I just want to live a better life. What's wrong with me? I thought about it and said, Nothing wrong. It's just that you used the wrong method. Shaman looked at me and said, Are you saying that I'm not as kind, innocent, or loving as you? I shook my head. No, Shaman. Your biggest mistake is that in your past life or this life, you always eat other people's cakes. But why should you eat other people's cakes? If you really eat them, how do you know if there is poison in them? The right way is to make your own cakes. Ju Shaman cried and shouted, What qualifications do you have to say that? Don't you want to share the GU family's property? I shook my head. I don't want to. The 2 million yuan I took out from Gu's has been returned with interest after my company with Song Xiaoli made a profit. As for the clothes and jewelry that Gu's mother gave me, I sealed the valuable ones in the safe and made a list. I hope to completely cut off ties with the GU family in the future. The reason is very simple. The GU family made their fortune in real estate. In the past 30 years, there have been accidents and deaths in the process of grabbing land and building buildings. There are countless secret activities. Gu's father has means. These things can be suppressed now, but they can't be suppressed forever. With this blood-stained and dirty money, something will happen sooner or later. By then, everyone related to the GU group will go to jail. Zhu Shiman couldn't understand this, and just stared at me in a daze. After a long time, she whispered, I lost to you in 2 lives. I shook my head gently, and then moved closer to her. This is the purpose of my coming. I have something to say to Zhu Shiman. Shaman, in 2 lives, you chased me and bit me, as if I were your biggest enemy. But let me ask you, in these 2 lives, is it me who really hurt you? It was like a thunderbolt struck Zhu Shiman. She trembled all over and burst into tears. I turned and left, never looking back. Time flies. On the day when the company founded by Song Xiaoli and I went public, I saw the news. At the door of the GU group building, Zhu Shiman stabbed Jiu Jiwe with a knife. Song Xiaoli was beside me, and she also saw the news. In the news, Zhu Shiman had been arrested by the police, and Jiu Jiwe was being rescued, and his life or death was uncertain. Song Xiaoli took a glance and retracted her gaze. I deliberately teased her. Why don't you ask me if I am worried about Jiu Jiwe, she said. You are not worried, but he loved me very much later, didn't he? Song Xiaoli had a blank expression. Jiu Shichu, in this life, I would rather you accept money from loan sharks than accept the love of bad people. Also, show me the manuscript of the media conference later. I think there are 6 problems with your punctuation. Okay, squad leader. The world's largest industry summit is about to be held. Under the lights, the host has begun to read out the exciting opening remarks. Song Xiaoli and I, as the youngest and most popular successful female entrepreneurs, are about to step onto this stage. Countless spotlights are about to light up for us. Countless cameras are about to focus on us. Song Xiaoli is wearing a snow-white suit, cool and capable, tall and outstanding. The weed that grew silently in adolescence has finally become a pine tree standing in the blizzard, and I am wearing a black silk dress, gentle and generous, with hidden pearls, after enduring the long night. I can finally see the stars. Song Xiaoli, are you nervous? Forget it. Artificial intelligence will not be nervous. I just asked unnecessary questions. Silence. After a while, Song Xiaoli took my hand and passed the warmth of her palm to me. Jiu Shichu, don't be nervous. The curtain opened. Our names were displayed on the huge LED screen. Song Xiaoli and I walked hand in hand to the stage, and we were greeted by thunderous applause. Epilogue. Later. Song Xiaoli and I grew our company bigger and bigger. Jiu Jiwe didn't die. He was seriously injured, but he survived after rescue. That's good too. Someone should be alive to pay for the sins committed by GU Group. Zhu Shiman went to prison. She wrote me a letter in prison, saying that if she had a chance to come out, she hoped to return to the welfare home and volunteer to take care of the children. She said she hoped to use the rest of her life to atone for her sins to me. At the end of the letter, she called me sister. I felt very complicated and put the letters away. Many children from the welfare home gathered around me. Sister Shichu, what are you looking at? I shook my head. Nothing. Today, Song Xiaoli and I came to the welfare home together and met the director. We will set up a charity fund in the name of the company to help children who are not adopted, and also provide follow-up help for adopted children who are in trouble. The sun is shining and the weather is fine. We finally walked into the expected future. Extra. Song Xiaoli always felt that she was a person without friends. In this school, pretty girls play with pretty girls, and rich girls play with rich girls. Song Xiaoli is neither pretty nor rich, and her personality is very strange. She knows that no one likes her, so she lives in silence, until a little girl always finds her. Class monitor, why do you wear long sleeves in such a hot day? Class monitor, you are obviously very talented in dancing. Why don't you go when the dance teacher asks you to participate in the performance? It's really annoying. None of these broken questions can be answered by herself. Song Xiaoli had to remain silent. The little girl understood silence as indifference, and she left in disgrace and came back a few hours later. Class monitor, tell me about conic sections. I'll treat you to spicy strips. Song Xiaoli, in fact. The little girl's family situation is not good either. It seems that her father is a security guard at the school, and her mother is a cleaner. It's better than her own family, but it's limited, not to mention that at least he has his grandmother to love him, and the girl's parents don't care much about her. But the girl is different from him. She is very likable. Everyone in the class likes her. It is said that there is a rich second-generation kid from the next class who is pursuing her fiercely. Song Xiaoli occasionally has a little gossipy heart. That rich second-generation kid, what are you doing? I heard that he likes you. The girl bit her pen while doing math problems. I don't want the love of a bad guy. In fact, they didn't have much contact time. But the girl seemed to have figured out Song Xiaoli's family situation. Class monitor, take this money. It took the girl a long time to save money for teaching aids. I don't know where she saved this money. Song Xiaoli refused to accept it. She was very poor, but her self-esteem was very strong. I didn't do anything. I can't take your money. This was actually one of the few times they talked. Song Xiaoli was focused on studying. She thought that as long as she went to college, everything would be fine. She had good grades and had a good chance of getting into Tsinghua or Peking University. Even if she didn't perform well, she would definitely be a good candidate. Then she could earn money, buy medicine for her grandmother, and go play with little girls and make friends with them. As a result, 1 month before the college entrance examination, her father came back and brought back a message. Your grandmother is dying. Song Xiaoli's bones were cold. Her father was drunk and still talking to himself. You have to keep spending money on an incurable disease. The doctor said there was only a 30% chance of surgery, so I said I wouldn't do it. Going home means you'll continue to spend money, so I threw her in the hospital corridor. You old woman, you only know how to drag me down. Song Xiaoli's ears were buzzing, and she searched for the last bit of money in her school bag. That was originally the tuition she had saved for herself to go to college. She rushed to the hospital to save her grandmother, but was stopped by her father. Little bastard, you still have money. Then why didn't you take it out when your father was chased and beaten by creditors yesterday? Song Xiaoli struggled desperately, but she was too thin. Her arms and legs were as thin as bean sprouts, and she had no strength to wave. Her father took her money and then gave her the heaviest beating. Fuck you, you little bastard. I gave birth to you, and your life is given by me. Even if I beat you to death today, you deserve it. Song Xiaoli fainted. When she woke up again, her father had taken the money and went out to drink. She rushed to the hospital like crazy. The familiar doctor shook his head at her with regret. Grandma passed away. What's wrong with your right hand? The doctor saw Song Xiaoli's hand. Song Xiaoli looked at her arm, which was at a very strange angle. Even an outsider could see that it was definitely broken. She refused the doctor's kindness to let her take an X-ray and stumbled home alone. On the way, a girl stopped her. The girl wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and a white shirt. She looked very gentle and was about the same age as her. Do you want to start over? The girl seemed to be saying something, but Song Xiaoli couldn't hear clearly. Finally, the girl handed her a note with a string of numbers on it. If you want to start over, write your name, birthday, an address on a text message and send it to this number. I can let you start over. Song Xiaoli sat on the rooftop. She thought about the girl's words. Start over. What would happen if she started over? She had really tried very hard in her life. How could she do better if she started over? Give the opportunity to those who need it. So, Song Xiaoli took out her mobile phone. She was the class monitor, and the information of the whole class was in the data sheet. She found the information of the little girl. It is said that because she didn't want to be with the rich second generation, the little girl was put in solitary confinement by her parents and was beaten. She was very pitiful. Let her start over. She is so powerful. If she is given a chance to start over, she will definitely live a better life. Song Xiaoli picked up the phone. Her right hand was broken, so she stumbled with her left hand to type the girl's message. The text message was sent successfully. Song Xiaoli breathed a sigh of relief. With overwhelming despair and a small blessing, she jumped down. Song Xiaoli woke up. She remembered that she had just jumped off the building, but she woke up in bed. There were many chaotic shadows in her mind, and she couldn't tell whether it was a dream or a reality that she had experienced and forgotten. It shouldn't be real. After all, an ordinary person like me can't be reborn like those heroines in novels, so it should be a dream. The alarm clock rang, and Song Xiaoli got up and went to school. A big thing happened in the school today. The eldest daughter of the Jiyu family transferred to their class. Song Xiaoli vaguely remembered that she seemed to have dreamed of this scene. In the dream, the eldest daughter of the Jiyu family was bullied in the toilet. She walked up to her, handed her a towel, and advised her to expose it, but she waved her hand away. Expose? That's my brother, so this time. Song Xiaoli did not intend to meddle in other people's business. She just handed a towel and then turned and left. As a result, the eldest daughter of the Jiyu family called her. Class monitor. Song Xiaoli stopped. At that moment, she felt that this voice had appeared many times in her dream. The eldest daughter of the Jiyu family seemed to be a very friendly person. She invited Song Xiaoli to dinner and asked Song Xiaoli to be her tutor. Song Xiaoli taught it twice and found that the eldest daughter learned conic sections better than herself. She was trying to find reasons to give herself money while maintaining her fragile self-esteem. Song Xiaoli had never cried since she was a child, but at that moment, her nose was a little sour, thanks to Miss Jiyu. Song Xiaoli had a lot of savings in addition to living expenses. She found a good hospital for her grandmother to have surgery, and the operation was successful. As for her father, he was inexplicably beaten and sent to the hospital. Song Xiaoli went to test Miss Jiyu to see if this matter had anything to do with her. Miss Jiyu pretended to be stupid throughout the whole process, but the corners of her mouth were harder to suppress than AK. Song Xiaoli was a little speechless. She just didn't like to talk, not stupid. Later, Song Xiaoli's father was discharged from the hospital and got into trouble with new creditors. The place where the fracture was broken again and inserted into the heart. It is said that there was still a little chance of rescue when he was found, but Song Xiaoli took the initiative to sign, indicating that the family voluntarily gave up treatment. Song Xiaoli scattered her father's ashes into the stinky ditch and hired a nurse to take care of her grandmother. After completing these two important things in her heart, she got into Tsinghua University as she wished. She has many things she wants to do. For example, Miss Jiyu said she wanted to start a business. Then, she hoped to become her partner. Later, the content of the dream gradually became clear. Song Xiaoli remembered. It turned out that Miss Jiyu was the little girl in the previous life. In this life, she really changed her fate. Her choice was worth it. Later, Song Xiaoli asked Jiyu Shichu, in the previous life, is there anything that impressed you particularly? Jiyu Shichu was a little confused. Too many. Which one do you want to talk about? Song Xiaoli said, it's not just one thing. In fact, it's just a scene. That day, under the sky that hadn't yet lit up, two little girls in thin school uniforms were jogging in the morning. They were the two people who got up the earliest in this school. And they were also the two who worked the hardest. The long and barren adolescents, like the dark night of winter, can't see the end at a glance. The short-haired and thin little girl couldn't run anymore. She wanted to stop, so another long-haired girl ran to her side, grabbed her hand, and took her to run towards the front. This is the most prominent Jiyu family in Jiangcheng. Gu's father is a business tycoon, and his company contributes the largest tax revenue in Jiangcheng. Gu's mother is a socialite, often appearing at various jewelry auctions and charity dinners, drinking with popular stars. Will we really have a bright future? Definitely, at this moment. Song Xiaoli and Jiyu Shichu stood hand in hand under the spotlight. She thought, it doesn't matter if she doesn't remember, because the promise has been fulfilled. They really stood in the future they once expected.